at least in my own experience, I don't know that I have ever, felt that confidence in trying something new before I actually did it. To me, you have to do it a few times. Confidence, there's an element of confidence that comes from experience.
Mm-hmm.
So to me as a coach, certainly, and as a leader too, to see that, put the mirror down, hold your breath, and challenge them to take that step, because I know they're going to be amazing at it. I know they are. I can see it already.
Hey everyone, it's Amy Lynn Durham, and you're listening to Create Magic at Work. Create Magic at Work is on a mission to equip senior leaders with tools they need to be a true quantum leader and actually understand what that means. Improve employee engagement, retain top talent, and transform your workplace culture to have less drama and stress. So let's start making magic. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Create Magic at Work. I am delighted today because I gave my friend Shawn Comboy a nudge to be a guest on the Create Magic at Work podcast here for everyone, because I felt so passionate about Shawn and what an amazing coach she is, and the wisdom that she can share with all of us in how we can recognize our own magical gifts and also thrive in the midst of chaos. So a little bit about Shawn. The backdrop of the last 15 years of her career in the corporate world was dramatic organizational change, from multi-billion-dollar downsizing to massive expansion. That doesn't make her different from a lot of people out there, but what makes her different is she thrived in it. She loves chaos. She says that chaos is her happy place. Now I'm sure you're all realizing why I had to have her share some of her wisdom with everyone. And she says that chaos is where she does her best work and where she is free to live her potential. She works with executive leaders who are navigating transition and change. She helps them achieve their goals, maximize their effectiveness as leaders, and operate in a sustainable way that inspires others. And she brings structure to chaos. Shawn, welcome to Create Magic at Work.
Thank you. I'm excited and terrified to be here.
Good. That means you're thriving, because you said you thrive in chaos. So you're in your zone of genius right now. So tell everyone a little bit more about yourself, or anything I missed. Is there anything you wanted to add or share?
Oh my gosh. I think the thing that I would add to that is, it's funny. I do think, especially in the corporate world, and even now, I thrive in that chaos. And one of the reasons I think I do is, I think like a lot of us in the corporate world, I have this control issue. And I think it's a place where I'm always able to, no one's watching, no one's paying attention, so I can have the most control. And I think it also, I am really good at simplifying and putting, structure in a chaotic situation. So I think, in the chaos is always, at least in my past, when I just felt like, hey, the things I'm good at, I can really exercise it here.
Yeah. I've always been so intrigued and curious about this whole entire topic, because a big part of quantum leadership, if you read up on Dana Zohar, who's done decades of work in spiritual intelligence, she wrote a book called The Quantum Leader, and she talks about how companies thrive when they are on the edge of chaos, and how if you can recognize that, you can actually birth innovation, and inspiring things can come from that. And I know when you and I have had some private conversations that I hope you don't mind now, I guess I'm making some of it public. You're very strong at skill 18 in spiritual intelligence, which is being a wise and effective change agent. It's one of the capstone skills in SQ. And you were off the charts, level 5. And so this is kind of how we got into this discussion. And I just was how do you do that? What does it feel like working in chaos? How does it feel to thrive in chaos? Can you tell us a story about something that in your work life where you were on the edge of chaos and then something beautiful came from that?
Oh my gosh. I think to me where what I've always kind of, and I don't know, it just kind of happened in it is I was in logistics for so long and there's always something chaotic going on there and some rather big things. The like when I say the last 15 years, the organization I was with, top 3 logistics organizations in the world, and they completely restructured their express division to the point
Mm-hmm.
of, collapsing of $4 billion network. And what I think really kind of highlighted for me in that 15-year piece is that, when I could see that, where we were aiming or what we were aiming for was better, was going to be, I guess, better than, or at least idealistically, the vision was so much better, and it was something, I could believe in. Then the chaos to getting there, number one, seemed worth it. Absolutely. But also, I just found myself in, at least for me, in that place is where it's like all the constraints were off because everybody's, struggling to try to, do way more than, is physically possible and, keep to this chaotic plan where nobody really knows exactly how to do it. We just sort of have an idea and we definitely know where we're going. And to me, it's when I think I took my own barriers off, right? And I could really flex and give myself permission to, hey, look, if it doesn't work, let's try it again. And
Mm-hmm.
so to me, I think it's probably the space where I felt the least constrained, certainly by, the organization and all of that, but probably more so by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it was just a place where I could really flex and truly live up to my potential because part of living up to your potential is messing up.
So good. So insightful because leaders that understand that you have these huge learning moments from mistakes really are the ones that help people grow and thrive and keep those next level edge walkers within their organization. And I think if there's workplace cultures where there's fear to make a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
that can really hinder growth, that can hinder the feeling of psychological safety. And so the fact that you mentioned, there were a few things that came up for me when you were sharing. The first one is you said, we knew where we were going. I had a sense of this vision down the line. We were going to get there. We just trial and errored it a couple of times. But because I had a sense of knowing the future, which is a huge Edgewalker skill, by the way, which is a wise and effective change agent, it helped me thrive in the midst of what was going on because I wasn't afraid to fail. We were just moving towards that vision, right?
Yeah. And and
So,
I and I'll say this, to me, organizations usually have, well, I'll say sometimes
yeah.
have good high level plans. And I will say this, I had the benefit, at least in this last scenario, there's been a lot of craziness in my 30 plus years, but even in a high level plan, it's going to be messy getting there. And even if the plan is great, and I would, looking back, I would say, yeah, it's a pretty great plan, but it was messy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anyway, I thought I would insert that.
Such good insight. So, if somebody is, because I'm thinking of this quote I've heard before, in the eye of the storm, I stand serene. And it really speaks to the inner and outer peace that skill building and spiritual intelligence can give all of us, which is maintaining inner and outer peace, regardless of the situation you're in, even under great stress, and being able to make wise and compassionate decisions while doing so. So if someone's listening and they're in the mess and they're feeling chaotic, but they're not feeling like they're thriving in it, what's one thing you would share as a coach with them to help them feel a little more inner peace?
Oh my gosh. It's going to depend on the individual, but I'm also going to put
Mm-hmm.
my leader hat on a little bit and
Yeah,
just kind of
please.
put myself back there. To me, you know, I think we all work in this, we all think, everything, we're in this world of there's a perfect way to do things, and there's never a perfect way to do things. And so in chaos, to me, is, you'll never do it perfect. So simplify it. If you can just look at and simplify it into its core components, its core doable components. Well, I'll just say its core components. And then from that, look at what's doable for right now. And then, focus on that. And I always say a plan isn't 2-dimensional. It's probably 4 or 5-dimensional, meaning, there's things to do, but there's things to do right now. There's a time continuum to things.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning you may say, hey, there's 4 key components here and I can't possibly do all of them. Okay, well, which ones can you do now? And then your plan, your plan is 3 or 4-dimensional because it has a time element to it. So I guess to summarize that, in chaos, simplify it and make sure it's doable. Make sure whatever you get to is doable. And I'm going to use a different word, not doable, sustainable.
What do you mean by sustainable versus doable?
So I would say I don't know if anything, but, to a certain extent, you can do anything for a short amount of time. But sustainable is you can do it for a long, sustained amount of time. And to me, if you can be sustainable the whole way, you're still going to end up ahead of just being doable for a short amount of time.
Yeah, that what I'm hearing from that is an avoidance of burnout when you changed it from doable to sustainable, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And client story time. Client story time. I thought of a client I work with, and they were overwhelmed with so many projects. They had so many orders fly through all at once that they were so overwhelmed thinking of all of the projects that need to be completed and go out. However, exactly what you were talking about, when we broke it down into smaller components, what do you want to focus on today? What can you get done today? What's the one project that you want to get done and ship out today, and then move to the next? Because we all can fall into that spot where it's almost like looking at the big picture in a detrimental way. Right. Yeah. And so bringing it back down to what's sustainable. What's sustainable is I can finish this today and get this one out. Exhale. Then I can go to the next. So I think that's a really great reminder to micro step yourself through the chaos.
And, I love that example you gave, because it reminds me of, a lot of times, especially in chaos and in transition or what have you, a lot of organizations will move forward with a fewer amount of people and the same amount of workload, right? And that's not sustainable. And so, and people, individuals, I'm going to say maybe not the organization, but individuals think, well, I still have to do all of this. And here's the thing, you don't. And I always, ask folks who are in this place of, unsustainability, how much of this is you and how much of it is your organization? Because I will say, as a leader, even before, I will ask and take everything you're willing to give me, but I will also expect you to set your boundaries. And I want you to set your boundaries in a sustainable way. So to me, I think there's also kind of that big picture. I mean, take a step back and reassess. Hey, what really is sustainable? And then, build yourself a plan from that, and communicate, with your organization or the powers that be. Another thing I'll ask when I'm really kind of getting to the heart of the matter, I'll say, so are you completing everything that, you have on your list, of things that you think are the most important thing on time every time? And no. Okay. And, is anything happening? Is anybody, saying anything about it? No. Well, then the only one that's upset about this is you. And I'm not saying that's always the case, but just really assess, where is this pressure coming from, because I will tell you with personal experience, the majority of mine was coming from me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When I think back to, when I was my old leadership job, a lot of the things I took on voluntarily, a lot of the pressure I put on myself was no one else was putting it on me. And it was all this sort of ingrained, but you know what? I have to say, it was also systemic. Like it was this ingrained system we work in where we feel that pressure and where we feel like we have to, do all the work and volunteer for all the things, at least for me being like the hyperachiever, right? And I think it's really refreshing that you and I are now, because I never heard this when I was in that space, talking about boundary setting. And does it really matter? I think back, like some of the stuff I did could have said no and would have taken home the same paycheck. No offense,
Yeah.
Especially if it's causing me damage in some way, mental health, physical health, whatever that looks like. So I think this is a really great call to anyone listening to assess. And this has been a big theme in season 4 of Create Magic at Work is boundary setting and self-compassion. And it is a huge call if you feel like you're sitting in this space and you want to figure out what your components are or how to dial this down or how to boundary set. I encourage everyone to reach out for support in helping you with that. Whether it's Shawn right now who helps with that, whether it's me who's a coach, you can't put it past having support when you're filtering all this through and dialing it down to what is important for you. And that's really what we're here for, is to support you in that, because we've been there. So I just wanted to say that.
And if you don't mind me adding one more thing,
please.
It's good for you, but it's also critical to the organization, because remember, if what you're doing isn't sustainable, then number one, you're not going to be as good at it. Because you're going to be physically not able to do it, but emotionally not. So you're not going to be your best self. You're not going to be your most productive self. And eventually, if you hit a wall, it could very well, and oftentimes is a physical wall. So then you're going to have to take time off. Mm-hmm. Or you're just like, hey, this job isn't for me. I'm going to go elsewhere. So now the organization loses a valuable employee that they have invested in and all of those things. So I would say, don't think you're doing this just for yourself, because it is 100% for your organization.
Mm-hmm. Really good. Yeah. The cost savings alone in helping people through this for organizations is huge, with absenteeism, healthcare, all of those things. We need to point that data out more often, because I feel like it's missed in meeting rooms when we're looking at P&Ls, right? One of the things that I really admire about you, and I wanted you to share with everyone listening, is you have this ability to really build confidence in women in leadership. And I was just hoping that you would share maybe some insights for anyone listening that's feeling maybe not their most confident self, or maybe they're feeling a little like, I don't know if I can do this, or maybe they're going through a transition. I can think of so many things where I'll give you a bunch of different examples. Somebody that maybe feels like they're getting pushed out of their job, or somebody that left their job for entrepreneurship and now they're second guessing themselves and they don't think they're that great compared to when they left. Somebody that is going for a promotion and then they're like, oh gosh, I don't have all of these qualifications listed. Maybe I shouldn't go for it. I just have found that you have this gift to see these beautiful strengths in people and shine the light on them for them. So could you share a couple of insights on that for anyone listening that might be going through those things?
Oh my gosh. I, for one thing, I think that us as women in particular, the mirror we hold up to ourselves is warped. I think we're just typically, and I'll say statistically speaking, right? Not everybody, but statistically speaking, I think we're very overly critical of ourselves, just, as just in terms of our nature. One thing that I always say, I love, and I have this information on my website, but women, men are more likely to raise their hands when they're uncertain versus women. Meaning as a job, as an example. So if a woman looks at a job and she doesn't have the experience, 100% of the qualifications listed, she won't raise her hand, where a man will look at the same list and with the same qualifications and say, well, do I think I can develop in that role? Well, yes, and so they'll raise their hand. So to me, I think, women are very self-critical. So to me, I would say when I'm looking at another woman and I'm blessed to be able to work and be acquainted with, yourself included, these just amazing, accomplished, powerful women, right? And so I'm not looking in their same mirror. I don't have it. It's not warped. I'm seeing them as they are. And so I just see those gifts and that power that they bring forward. And so to me, especially as a coach, I just work with them I don't know if I'm working to polish their mirror up anymore. I'm asking them to set it aside, trust, right? Flex, go try it out. And to me, that's kind of more if that makes sense. I don't know if that was a very good answer.
I thought that was so insightful to put the mirror down. Because at first I was thinking, I love the analogy that maybe we see ourselves with a warped mirror. And I love that as a coach, you are like, I'm just going to see you for all your gifts. And that's it. So we're going to put the mirrors down altogether and we're not even going to look at them. And we're just going to move forward. I just feel like that was such a innovative way to say that, of course, as a wise and effective change agent that you are. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
I also challenge people. So meaning, to me, at least in my own experience, I don't know that I have ever, felt that confidence in trying something new before I actually did it. To me, you have to do it a few times. Confidence, there's an element of confidence that comes from experience. So to me as a coach, certainly, and as a leader too, to see that, put the mirror down, hold your breath, and challenge them to take that step, because I know they're going to be amazing at it. I know they are. I can see it already.
Yeah, that's my point, and how you can see that in people. You're like, I know they're going to be amazing. I just know it. I can see it. And so in that, for everyone going around in their day or their week that are listening, what is one suggestion or one way that we can look at someone else and notice a gift within them?
Gosh, that's there's so many elements to that, because, depending on the lens you're looking at, to me, it is, whether it's conflict or just, if you're trying to see a gift within someone, think about their point of view. So ask yourself this question: what is their point of view? I had a client the other day, and we were talking about, someone that she was challenged with, and she had great rendition of her point of view. And I said, well, what do you think that person's point of view is? And wow, all of a sudden she stopped and she thought about it. And she just changed. She was just like, well, I think it's like this. And all of a sudden she saw that person differently. So whether it's conflict or, just trying to see someone, I would just try to, hey, clear your head, and what is their point of view? Would be a question.
Yeah, that's actually, it's no surprise that you're offering that suggestion, because one of the high level ways that a change agent operates is to create win-win solutions when there's opposing views that are going on. And so asking the person to look at someone else's point of view, to reframe the story, what's the story in their head, all of those things, really great tips for people to take away. And I think it starts too with what we talked about, where it starts with just looking for a gift. I wonder if we operated the way you do if we wouldn't send a little bit more of a beautiful ripple effect. We just say, today I'm going to look for the gift or the amazing in anyone I interact with,
I
right?
love that.
Yeah. And so just starting with that self-awareness that this is how I am going to operate. I'm going to look for the gift and the amazing in anyone I interact with, I think is a good starting point for moving down that road. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And one other thing that comes to mind too is, especially if you're not seeing a gift with someone, if you're seeing someone and they're a challenge to you in some way. One question that I've found that I've been asking a lot lately is, I'm hearing how someone feels about the other person, and then I say, how do you feel about yourself? And what is so interesting, and you've talked about this before, so I've thought about you and the concept of shadowing or shadows.
Yeah, I was just thinking
And
that.
I'd never heard, by the way, I'd never heard that before until you. But it's so funny is, how do you feel about yourself? And it's almost a mirror of the challenge that they're feeling with this. And so, it really helps unlock, and just being able to first, well, I think it's easier for them to have empathy for the other person at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, and now how are you going to show yourself grace or empathy? Or
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's funny. That's been a question I've asked a lot lately. And I just thought about you were in my conversation on, and I don't know if I'm using the right word, but it's shadow or
shadow. Yeah, shadow work for sure. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody's got an extra emotional charge from something that maybe most wouldn't have such an emotional charge about, then it's maybe time to see within yourself where you're doing that. For example, you're really upset that someone's constantly late all the time, or you're really upset that someone's missing deadlines all the time. You can be upset, you can hold people accountable, but if it's giving you this extra charge where you're just worked up, I can't believe, then it's time to say, wait a minute, where am I missing deadlines in my life? Where have I been late for others in my life? And take a look.
Yeah. Or even blaming yourself for whatever. I mean, it's interesting. Some of the challenges that you may be having with an individual, employee, or what have you. And then what is making you even more angry is that you're angry with yourself for, not seeing it differently, not being able to navigate it better. And you know what I mean? And the whole perfectionism thing coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's where we really start diving into, how can I treat myself? This was actually just the episode that's out this week that we're recording this. How can I treat myself the way I would a good friend, or how would I give myself advice the way I would for a good friend?
Yeah.
And then that's a good step into self-compassion.
And and how different is it that I would treat my friend than myself?
Right? Gosh, the things we do to ourselves, right? Ugh, we just beat ourselves up. That's why it's good we're talking about this. Okay, Shawn, I am going to pull a journal prompt card from the Create Magic at Work journal prompt card deck, which you can find on my website, createmagicatwork.net. We're going to pull a message for you and for everyone listening. And this card's coming out. It's going to be an affirmation. Oh, yes, we finally got, this is so good for me and you too. We got reward and a bubble bath.
Oh,
yeah.
Is this like an order? Is this an action item I'm to take away from this?
And talk about, self-care and all this other, or, self-compassion. I don't think this card has came up all year, by the way.
Really?
So time.
I'll take it. Yeah. I love this. I mean, this is great action.
Everyone listening, action item, right? Reward. Okay, so affirmation is, I take time to reward myself for the work that I accomplish. And Shawn, there's a couple coaching questions on here. I'm going to ask everyone to listen. And Shawn, I'm going to ask you to share, what are you proud of that you have accomplished?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one for me. Talk about the mirror. I am just in my practice, then I've been doing this now for about 3 years since leaving the corporate world. I am proud of myself for recognizing where all of these control issues are and stepping into things that are really challenging for me and knowing I'm not going to be in control and really trying to walk into it without the trepidation I would feel before. I don't know about trepidation, but that anxiety level, that pit in your stomach. I want to enjoy the journey, which was my mantra starting last year is the journey is the goal. And realize that the journey is the goal. Just like this, when you said, "Hey, Shawn, do you want to be on a podcast?" I'm like, absolutely not.
And yet here you are.
And then I was like, "No, Shawn, this is part of the journey. Let's go."
Awesome. Yeah. We get so caught up in that end point that we're going for. We just, yeah, it's so nice. Thank you for that reminder for everyone. And for everyone listening, take some time to jot down on your phone or later in your journal, write something down that you're proud of that you've accomplished. And maybe take it a step further and write 4 sentences after that, congratulating yourself on a job well done.
Yes.
I mean, that's a great way to take some time to reward yourself too. It doesn't have to be a bubble bath. It doesn't have to be a massage. It doesn't have to be whatever that looks like for you. But what would be really great is just writing a congratulatory paragraph to yourself on a job well done for what you're proud of that you've accomplished. I think that's a great way to wrap the episode today. So Shawn, thank you for being on Create Magic at Work and for sharing your wisdom with all of the listeners. If they want to connect with you more, where can they find you?
They can find me on my website, which is easiest, www.shawncomboy.com. Okay. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. Same. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and what have you. But yeah. If you go to my website, you can just connect with me and set up a chat or whatever you'd like to do.
Perfect. And we'll put the link in the show notes. And it's Shawn, SHAWN, Comboy, COMBOY. I definitely encourage you to connect with Shawn on Instagram or LinkedIn. She shares some really well thought out, very well articulated, inspiring videos for leaders in the workplace. So if you just need a little pick me up, every once in a while, Shawn shows up in your feed with a beautiful video message. So I definitely encourage you to follow her there. Shawn, thank you so much for being a guest, and thanks for helping me send some magic to everyone.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Do you have this feeling that you were called to do something very special and important in the world? Do you consciously tune into something higher than yourself for guidance and inspiration? Have you had mystical or spiritual experiences that have provided guidance in your everyday life and work? If you answered yes to those 3 questions, then you are a fit for a Create Magic at Work coaching program. If you're looking to explore new frontiers in your personal and professional life, I invite you to consider stepping into one of my coaching programs. I specialize in helping people step outside of their comfort zone and embrace the unknown. Whether you're looking to launch a new business venture, navigate a major life transition, or simply push yourself to reach new heights, I can help you achieve your goals. Please schedule a complimentary consultation with me at createmagicatwork.net. Click on Work with Amy, and I can't wait to see you. Sending magic to you. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back every week to listen to a new episode of Create Magic at Work and really helping to support and advocate for healthy leaders, workplaces, and lives for all of us. If you want any information on how to connect with me, click on the link in the show notes. You'll get access to all of the social media links for Create Magic at Work. Stay following along for more amazing episodes where we help you improve productivity and profitability in the workplace and decrease stress. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.